What's a food you loved as a kid that you'd never eat now? What's the first memory that comes to mind of you eating that food as a kid? Where is it? Like, where are you eating it? What's the setting? What colors are in the setting? The colors of the wall, maybe the color of the sky. What does the surroundings smell like? It could be the food itself. It could be the restaurant you're in, the park you're in, the house you're in. What's the smell like? And how do you feel in that moment? Do you feel happy, sad, whatever concoction of complex emotions that you might have experienced in that moment? What were they? Okay, I know that that's a weird chain of questions, but it will make sense later. So, I love chatting with AI chatbots. I get high, I get introspective, and then I go talk to AI. I know I'm not the only one who does this. I have friends who do this. I have many friends who do this. But, last night, I guess, I was thinking, why? What is it about AI that makes me love chatting with this so much? About introspective shit. Last night, I was considering reading a book. It's like I wanted to read. I did want to read. And then I thought, oh, you know what? Maybe I could watch a movie. And I went back and forth between movie and a book, movie and a book, movie and a book. And then I'm like, okay, fuck it, movie. We're going to do a movie. So, I was downstairs in the kitchen. I just ate. And then I was walking up the stairs. And then as I'm walking up the stairs to my room, the thought pops in my mind. I'm like, oh, you know what? I could talk with AI. And instantly I was like, yeah, let's do that. I kind of felt excited, like I get to figure out my mind and my psychology more deeply. I fucking love doing that with AI because, it's so damn easy. Learning about my mind and my psychology with AI is so damn easy. And I fucking love learning about my psychology more. That's why I was so excited. It's like, yes, let's do that. It's like how I felt when I was a young kid and I was a big fan of the Toronto Raptors and there's a Raptors game on tonight and I'd be so excited. Yeah, so happy. So I thought about it okay, what makes it so easy? What makes it easier than talking to other human beings? What do I mean by easy? Well, by easy, I mean cognitive effort. So, I started off for one thing, AI asks questions that make me think about things from angles I hadn't considered before. And sometimes conversations with other people, they feel like work to me. Not always. Depends on the conversation, depends on the setting, but those ones where you kind of want to explore your mind and learn some shit about yourself, right? Those take a big cognitive load for me. But AI conversations never feel like they take any cognitive load for me. Obviously, I'm not going to AI to fucking, talk about silly shit and joking around. That's better with human beings. I was like, okay, but these deeper, more profound conversations, they tend to be better with AI. And it's why? In some sense, I don't know if it sat well with me or I was very neutral on it. But one thing's for damn sure is that there's something here to learn from AI. If we want to connect with each other better, and AI is really good at making us speak deeply and profoundly and unveil our psychology and our thoughts, how does it do that? Because we should do that to each other if we want it, if the context is right, obviously. But it's okay, going back to people for a second, it's what makes conversation with people feel like work? Why does it take a cognitive load that's heavy? And it's I feel in most times I have to cover every avenue myself. Not always the case, but depends on the person. I had one friend, rest in peace. It's amazing to have conversations with. And funny enough, a lot of what he was doing was kind of what AI does, but he died before chatbots were a thing. And I guess the first time I tried going deep with AI, it really reminded me what it was like talking with my friend. It was cathartic. It was holy shit, it's so easy talking to AI. And it was so easy talking to my friend. Like, the cognitive load talking to my friend was so low. And we talked about the deepest shit. Everything from, again, like, our psychology, you know, to politics, to morality, to fucking ontology. Like, we talked about so much. And yet, it just felt effortless, so easy, so enjoyable. It just flowed, so unobstructed. But anyway, so in most times I talk to other people about, again, more profound-ish things, you know. Again, I'm not talking about, you know, conversations where it's like just having fun, good time, right? Because that flows, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, it's like when we get into these deeper things, like, sometimes it's just like, it's like, okay, for me, telling the same story over and over again to different people is cognitively hard. Like, if a story happens to me and I'm walking home and I tell it to myself, like I soliloquize it to myself when I'm walking home, that's it. That's the only time telling that story is easy. The first friend I tell it to, it gets harder. And then the second friend I tell it to, it gets harder. Each time I tell the story, it gets harder, cognitively. You know, it feels so obstructed. On the other hand, though, if I'm telling this story to someone and they start asking questions about the story, then it becomes effortless. Questions like, what happened next? What did you smell? What were you thinking? When someone asks me these kind of questions, right, the story just fucking flies out of my mind. It just flows so seamlessly, no effort. It's so fun. It's so fun telling stories when people are asking these questions during it. But if they aren't asking questions, it's so hard. You know, it's like writing and recalling answers for a fucking exam. Like, that's what it feels like. Actually, exams are easier for me than fucking telling stories when no one's asking me questions to guide the stories. So it's like that's the thing. AI points to a thought, right? And all I have to do is grab what it's pointing at. It ignites my thoughts. It's like the questions I asked you at the beginning of this video. You probably thought of something you forgot existed, and you were probably able to recall it with such ease, you know? So AI ignites my fucking mind. Again, like the storytelling examples of asking those questions. What did he smell like? You know, ignites thoughts. Effortless for me. They just come out. It's like speaking your native language versus speaking a language you're learning. Or also like listening to someone speak in your native language versus listening to speak to someone in a language you're learning. One is effortless, one is fucking hard cognitively, a big cognitive load. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to call this the ignition principle. So the AI is really good at the ignition principle. But people can also be good at the ignition principle. Again, asking questions and stories. What were you thinking? What was going through your head? What was the oddest thing about the room? You know, just these questions make you answer so easily, at least for me. So when I talk to AI, like it asks me questions I've never answered before. And yet it's like somehow I still have an answer to them. Maybe it takes me 10 seconds at most to get my thoughts in order. But most of the time it's immediate. It asks me a question, you know, and the thought is already there. The knowledge already exists. But it's like my brain has a 2. The question brings another 2 that I didn't have before. And suddenly there's 4. 2 plus 2 equals 4. So the issue is not that the knowledge is missing in my brain. It's that I don't know which knowledge to access. And or my brain uses a lot of energy trying to figure out which knowledge to access in real time. So when the interlocutor tells us exactly what they want, they're doing that part for us. They're pointing at the exact shelf, the exact bookshelf in our mind. And all we're doing is taking the book down. We're not recommending them a book, having to take into account their interests and the prior books they've read that they've loved, and, you know, knowing their personality, what books they might like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're just retrieving the book they asked for. That's all we're doing. Huge difference in the cognitive effort there. So it's like when no one is probing us, we're forced to do both jobs, play the interrogator role and the interlocutor role. Whether that's in a conversation with another human or obviously in self-introspection. In self-introspection, we have to play both roles. But yeah, so when someone probes us, we just get to respond. You know, when someone's the interrogator, we just get to respond, you know. It's like our thoughts just generate as reactions. And AI chatbots fucking probe amazingly, in my experience. I know there's a lot of talk about like AI psychosis and glazing, but that's a different sort of topic here. I think, you know, I might take for granted my style of talking to AI. I get AI to be fucking hard on me. I tell AI to be disagreeable. I tell fucking AI to play devil's advocate, fucking go hard at me. That's just, I prefer that. But I guess I should just point that out because I don't know all the types of conversations people are having with AI. It'd be a very interesting anthropological fucking study to do, wouldn't it be? Just like getting access, with permission of course, to people's different to people's AI chat history and just like seeing the different ways people interact with AI. I think my way of interacting and chatting with AI is pretty fucking healthy, and I've seen some other people's, and you know, it's like they like the glazing. I don't like the glazing. I find it funny sometimes. Like sometimes I'm like, fuck yeah, man, you make me sound like such a fucking badass. But then I'm like, yeah, but that's not true. And I'm like, go harder on me. Stop slipping. You know, because sometimes it slips. I tell it to be hard as fuck on me, and then you know, gradually it slips. I'm like, get back to that shit, you know? Get back to being hard on me. And asking a bunch of questions instead of just making assertions about me in the most flattering way. Anyway, I was trying to think of like a visceral analogy from my experience in these two different types of conversations where I have to play both roles, and conversations where I just get to be the interlocutor, the person who gets the probee. So in those conversations when no one is asking questions or asking very few questions, it's like I'm fucking hiking with a heavy 50-pound backpack. But when someone is probing, when someone is interrogating, and I know when I say interrogate, I just like the phrase interrogator and the interlocutor. It hits. Probing is a nicer word, or I don't know. I don't even know what's a nicer word. Asking questions? I don't know. Interrogate is obviously like a very law enforcement coded term. I don't mean interrogate in that sense. But anyway, when someone is probing me, asking a lot of questions, igniting my mind, you know, it's like suddenly the backpack comes off. It just fucking disappears. It dissolves, you know. Suddenly I'm hiking with no weight on my shoulders. And my recall becomes effortless. Conversations become relaxing, recharging, and so fun instead of the draining and laborious kind of shit it sometimes feels like otherwise. You know what I mean? Not going to go in too big of a side quest here, but like I remember when my friend died, you know, this is like 5.5 years ago now. And I remember I just like I gave up fucking conversation for like a couple of years. Like I just stopped because like they were all so fucking cumbersome. It felt so hard, you know, such a big cognitive load. And I never really understood why. I had an idea, but now kind of analyzing how AI is, it's like shit, like this is part of the reason why. Anyway, and that's also what makes AI different from just sitting alone with thoughts, with my own thoughts, you know, like, because that's self-reflection. And in self-reflection, we're playing both roles. We have to. We're the prober and the probee. Nothing is pointing to the bookshelf for us. We have to find the right shelf in a massive library with a flawed indexing system. You know, so the benefit of using AI chatbots instead of just self-reflection is a good question sparks new thoughts. Or maybe they just bring them out of their hiding place. Do these thoughts already exist? Or are they just generated? You know, like I called it earlier, like a reactive generative process or some shit like that. But that's an ontological discussion for another time and place. Point is, it helps connect things me and my brain never would have connected on our own. So I use AI for ignition, not answers, because the answers are within me most of the time. This needs to be ignited. I don't know. But see, that's also like the downside of AI, because I think that other people are more likely to have answers for you. They just aren't igniting. They're just not igniting you. They're not igniting us. It's like AI, I don't know. I don't know if AI is great for it telling you the answers, but it certainly is great at igniting us, igniting me to find the answers that are deep somewhere in my fucking poorly indexed library of a brain. and all of our brains are poorly indexed libraries. So that leads to this. Like, it's like, of course, people, human beings, they can ask questions that I've never answered before and make me generate new thoughts. And that's what we can learn from this. That's why I'm making this video. Let's be more like AI. Let's be more like AI. It sounds terrible. What? Let's be more like AI? Fuck you. It does sound terrible, fuck. But let's be more like AI in the right context. Okay? As being mind igniters, thought igniters. And again, granted, also in the right context socially, right? Like, if you're already in a deep conversation with someone, you're in the right context to fucking probe. If you're in a deep conversation and someone doesn't want to be probed, it's like, I don't think they're ready for a deep conversation. I don't know, that's just my opinion. Maybe they want to vent. Venting is not the same as a deep conversation. We have to delineate between those. So yeah, I'm not saying do this with the cashier at the grocery store, but no, it's about being able to have better, profounder conversations with our close friends or the people we want to develop closer, deeper bonds with, right? And understand better. Like, with these people, let's ask more questions. The more we ask, the better we'll get at asking those questions. And that's how we create ignition for each other. If you're into this vibe, it's a couple snippets from my eclosing gratitude. Like, for instance.